L'exercice qui conclut la World Policy Conference est toujours un peu artificiel. Il s'agit pour les uns un peu frustrés de dire ce qu'ils auraient aimé entendre ou ce qui n'a pas été dit. Il s'agit pour les autres, ils ont préparé quelque chose bien à l'avance et donc ils ne réagissent pas à ce qui a été dit précédemment. Moi-même, ce qui m'a frappé dans cette 8e édition de la World Policy Conference, c'est un certain nombre de moments, dont un moment particulièrement fort avec Lionel Zinsou, où on a parlé d'identité et où je me suis rendu compte que le grand péché du monde occidental n'était pas nécessairement l'arrogance, mais tout simplement le manque de curiosité. Nous ne nous intéressions pas à l'autre. Nous n'avions pas la curiosité de savoir comment des cultures pouvaient s'être formées à travers l'histoire. Et Lionel Zinsou nous a invités à, de manière très brodélienne, à prendre le temps long de l'histoire et à retrouver les empires qui sont les clés de l'explication des problèmes auxquels nous faisons face aujourd'hui. Il y a eu un débat sur la guerre, on y reviendra grâce à Renaud Girard, un peu sémantique, puisque nous avons été, bien entendu, dans cette édition, dominés légitimement par la tragédie de Paris, qui a donné, pour reprendre l'expression de Thierry de Montbrial, une gravitas à notre réunion que, bien entendu, nous ne souhaitons pas retrouver, mais qui était là, et qui a modifié le ton du débat en profondeur. Et ce qui m'a frappé, c'est que, au fond, ce à quoi nous assistons n'a rien à voir avec les guerres mondiales du XXe siècle. Même le mot guerre est contestable. Mais c'est un phénomène lié à la mondialisation. Et ce à quoi nous avons assisté, c'est la mondialisation des actes de guerre. De l'Europe à l'Afrique, en passant par l'Asie, comme nous l'a rappelé notre intervenant indien dans le débat sur la sécurité en Asie. Comment réagir? Par où doit passer la global governance? Est-ce qu'on peut s'inspirer du passé? Est-ce qu'on peut même rêver qu'en 2015, on puisse repenser à ce qui se passait en 1815, le congrès de Vienne? Y a-t-il une sainte alliance contre Daesh qui est en train de se constituer, comme s'était constituée en 1815 une sainte alliance? Je ne crois pas que cela soit possible. Je crois que cette analogie présente autant de dangers qu'elle peut nous être utile, mais je voulais, avant de lancer le débat, vous donner mes propres sentiments par rapport à une édition de la World Policy Conference qui m'est apparue exceptionnellement riche cette année. Alors, j'ai essayé d'organiser le débat de manière thématique. Donc, le point de départ, c'est quand même le Moyen-Orient, qui nous a servi tragiquement de fil conducteur au cours de ces journées. Donc, je vais d'abord donner la parole aux orateurs qui traitent du Moyen-Orient. Ribal et Meir. Ensuite, on passera à l'Europe avec Miguel. Ensuite, on ira vers l'Asie. Et on terminera avec le monde et Renaud Girard qui traitera de sa définition des guerres. Ribal, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me again this year. First, I would like to start by expressing my regret that His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Qatar, is not here in this room to listen to what I have to say. Even though I think that such a platform, such a prestigious conference is here to bring people from different minds in a democratic set so that we could discuss things that we could agree on or things that we could defer on. But again, he has not accepted. He refuses to be in the same room as me, and that's very unfortunate. Because I'm very critical, of course, of Qatar, as I am of many other countries, of the situation that has been going on in my own country, in the Middle East, in North Africa. But again, I am not the only one who has said so. As you have heard last year, Vice President Biden, when he was addressing students at Harvard University, he said very clearly that the problem in the region, our problem in the region and in Syria, it's our allies who have started a Sunni-Shia war to bring down the regime and deliberately cultivating groups such as ISIS, Al-Nusra, the Muslim Brotherhood, and others. He's of course not the only one. You also have, for example, the former head of counter-espionage and counter-terrorism in France, Mr. Bernard Stouassini, who also said that Qatar and Saudi Arabia were behind all extremist groups from Afghanistan to Syria to Lebanon, Egypt, and Africa. And he actually specified Qatar when he said that Qatar was backing those Islamist groups fighting the French troops in Mali. You also have, for example, former head of Interior Intelligence, Mr. Yves Bonnet, who also came out and said Saudi and Qatar are backing Islamist groups in France. And the last one, I think, I don't know if you've heard last year, again, Sir Malcolm Rifkind, who was the former chairman of the UK Parliament's Security and Security Committee, who came out and said that Qatar was behind those terrorist groups, and that Qatar had to choose their friend carefully or live with the consequences. And I would like to ask, where are those consequences? This is very important for us today, because it brings me to what happened, the sad terrorist attacks that happened terrible terrorist attack that happened in Paris just last week. As I've been saying for many years now, that we have to come together to tackle Islamic extremism. As I've been saying from the World Policy Conference last year in Seoul, actually, I've warned that the international community should come together to fight Islamic extremism. A day before the terrorist attack in Paris, I was speaking at the World Affairs Councils of America, and I've said that we cannot sit by and watch those terrorists, go over doing whatever they want. And that terrorist attack that happened on the Russian plane was not the only one or the last one, that more are going to come. And sadly, we have seen what happened. It again saddens me that we had to wait for an incident so terrible as the one that happened in Paris for the international community to come together and decide that they should work together to go fight ISIS. But please don't take me wrong. We are not after the brand name here. We should not be after the brand name. ISIS is only a brand. We should go after the underlying ideology and after all groups who share the same perverted, poisonous ideology. They may be Al-Nusra, they may be Ahrar Sham, they may be the Muslim Brotherhood. They are not different one from another. They all share the same poisonous ideology. Unfortunately, this has been ignored, and we have heard lately some of our allies, including Qatar, that they have been trying to promote Al-Nusra and to propose that we should back Al-Nusra to fight ISIS. We have had, for example, Mr. Charles Lister from the Brookings Institute in Doha, or Ms. Lina Khatib from the Carnegie Endowment, who were saying that we should support Al-Nusra to fight ISIS. Even lately, just a couple of months ago, we had General Petraeus, who came out and said we should support Al-Nusra to fight ISIS. But this is insane. We should not forget that the ones who were behind the 9/11 attack, the 7/7 bombing in London, and the Madrid train bombing were not ISIS. It was Al-Qaeda, which is Al-Nusra now, their branch in Syria. So we should not, of course, disregard this. And we should also remember what Michael Morell said in August 2013, who was the former head of the CIA. Just before he left, he says that those extremist groups in Syria, he did not say a name or brand, they have become the greatest threat to our national security. And we, being in Europe, should have understood that the threat is much greater on us here. And we should have understood, from them. Theresa May, the Home Secretary of the UK, last year said that they had actually stopped not less than 40 attacks on the UK. It's enough to have one only to slip of the net, to have lost many civilian lives. And again, we have not listened. I'm sure you have heard lately, last week actually, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of Al-Qaeda, coming out with a statement, recorded statement on the internet. And he was very clear. He said, the Americans, the Russians, the Iranians, the Alawites, and Hezbollah are coordinating their war against us. Shouldn't we stop fighting amongst ourselves to direct our attacks against them? This is, and unfortunately nothing was done. Because those people, we have to understand, in their ideology, they believe in killing all those who do not share their perverted ideology. And they believe in establishing an Islamic caliphate state, not only in the Middle East, but from Xinjiang, China, to Andalusia, Spain. And that's the reality of how poisonous their ideology are and why we have to come together to stop them. I've heard lately, again, some people criticizing Russia's intervention in Syria and that they were attacking groups who are supposedly our allies. I don't understand who are exactly our allies, because over 2 years ago you have US Attorney General Eric Holder, who came out and said all the groups in the Free Syrian Army, most of the groups in the Free Syrian Army follow the Al-Qaeda ideology. Again, you have former US ambassador to Syria, Ambassador Ford, who was working closely with the Syrian rebels. He just came out again a few months ago and said that our problem in the US is that we have been backing and arming groups who have fought all along alongside al-Nusra, and that was terrible. I welcome, of course, the measures that, drastic measures that the UK has taken lately, and I think that in Europe we should follow with their measures of going after all those who incite hatred and violence, and close down all the premises they use to promote extremism, and close down their TV stations, their websites. And I think in Europe we should do the same. But it's not enough to do that, or to go after them, to have a coalition going after them in Iraq and Syria. We also have to know that as long as they continue to have the backing and the support of some countries, they will continue to do the same. We have to know that these Islamic extremists are worse than the Nazis and a lot more dangerous, because they don't have a country that we could invade. They don't have an army, a single army that we could fight. They don't have an ambassador that we could threaten. They are within each of our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.